Welcome to the OK Let's Learn podcast. This is two podcasts in one. One where we dive into tons of interesting topics, and another where we dive into tons of family-friendly books and stories. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. So today, okay, let's learn all about turtles. Yes, we've handled frogs, we've handled chickens, we've handled crows. On and on. Yes, there's many series of podcasts about different animals. I'm thinking of the red fox right now. And here's how everything began. I'm walking Jasper through the woods. And out through the woods, I've mentioned this before, is like a field of dreams. You go out to all these baseball fields. But if you keep walking all along this brook, it empties out into this beautiful lake. And Jasper and I, we usually don't walk all the way down because half the time, if we go that far, I end up having to carry him back. But this time, it was a bright, sunny Thursday, and we ran into this guy that was fishing. A shout out to Noah. Noah, I hope you're listening to this on your vacation. He was fishing, and he goes, oh, watch it, there he is. There's that red-eared slider. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, no, it could be a snapper. But the bottom line, he threw his line out there, and the bobber's sitting right there. And you could tell, you could see. And when I say you could see this is at least 50 feet away, if not farther. But you could see his little head. And he's ready to pounce. It's like a little tiny shark in the water coming up to the float. and Noah just ends up throwing the line somewhere else. But here's the thing. He was teaching me so much about fishing. I never fished in my life. And as we were sitting there, he caught a shiner, and he was talking about all the other different fish that he had caught. And yes, go back to my episode on the great blue heron, because this is the same lake and brook where he hangs out. And apparently it was not even 10 minutes after I had left. Yeah, the heron came flying right by Noah, maybe looking for turtles. So, okay, let's learn. So, did you know that they can live more than 100 years? Did you know that they can survive underwater for months during the winter? And do you know that pretty much it has its home and it carries it home almost everywhere it goes? Yeah, it's the turtle. So whether you've seen one slowly crossing the road, sunning itself out in a log, swimming in a pond like I did, or maybe even at home in someone's aquarium, turtles clearly are one of the most recognizable animals on Earth. And here's the thing. How about this right up front? They've been around 220 million years. So they are older than birds, they're older than mammals, and maybe even dinosaurs. So what exactly is a turtle? Well, it's a reptile. That immediately makes it different from frogs, right? I'm going to reference frogs a lot here during this episode because we've already done an episode on frogs. Frogs are amphibians. Amphibians, that means that they live in water as tadpoles and they develop lungs later. They have smooth, moist skin and they usually must stay close to water. Turtles are completely different. They hatch looking like tiny version of themselves as adults. They have dry, scaly skin. They breathe air their entire lives. They never go through a tadpole stage, and they lay eggs with their leathery shells. Unlike frogs, turtles never go any kind of metamorphosis, any kind of transformation. They're basically born as miniature adults. Scientists recognize, believe it or not, 360 different species of turtles. They're found on every continent except Antarctica. Some live entirely in oceans. Others live, yes, in ponds right near me, rivers, lakes, swamps, forests. Some even spend their entire lives on land. So, here we go. How about this? You're probably wondering right up front. What's the difference between a turtle, a tortoise, and a terrapin? University of Maryland. My buddies from Maryland. The terrapins, right? It confuses almost everyone. A turtle is the general name. Within that group, there's several lifestyles, right? You've got sea turtles, where they live almost entirely in the ocean. You got freshwater turtles, like I mentioned before, they only live in ponds, rivers, lakes, and marshes. Tortoises, they live almost entirely on land. They're heavy-bodied, like with elephant-like feet instead of web feet. You got to think of like a giant Galapagos tortoise. The terrapin, this word usually refers to turtles that live in brackish water, which is water that's a mix of fresh and salt water. In the United States, however, people often simply call everything a turtle. But terrapin, why is it University of Maryland? Why are they terrapins? Well, it goes to the diamondback terrapin, which is a turtle that's native to, yes, the Chesapeake Bay. So you can understand why, right? Ocean, bay, brackish water. The terrapin has become so synonymous with Maryland that it actually was officially named the state reptile in 1994. But originally, the University of Maryland, they were known as the Aggies and then the Old Liners. But it was beginning in 1932 that the student newspaper, the Diamondback, launched the search, and the coach at the time, the head football coach, this guy by the name of Harry Curly Bird, he recommended, yes, the Diamondback terrapin. But I digress. Let's get back to turtles, period. No one in the animal kingdom has a shell quite like the turtle. And here's the amazing part. The shell isn't something that they wear. It isn't like armor that can be removed. The shell is actually part of their skeleton. Their backbone is fused directly into their shell. Their ribs spread out and become part of the shell. Imagine if your rib cage was wrapped around your whole body. That's essentially what happened with turtles evolving. There's two parts of the shell, the upper shell and the bottom shell, right? Both are made of bones covered by plates called scuts, which are made from the same material as our fingernails. As turtles grow, new rings often form on these scuts. People sometimes think you can count those rings like tree rings to determine how old they are. Nope, doesn't work like that. Can a turtle come out of its shell? That famous expression, right? He's coming out of his shell. She's coming out of her shell. No. This is one of the biggest myths about turtles. Their shell is attached to their skeleton. So removing it would be like removing your rib cage. The turtle would not survive. They can pull their head, their legs, and tail inside, but they will never leave the shell. What are the most common types of turtles? If you live, like I do, in North America, you've probably seen one of these. How about a painted turtle? Definitely the most common pond turtle. It's recognized by its colorful red and yellow markings. You often see it sunning itself on rocks or logs. The snapping turtle. Noah was telling me about this guy. Often he would catch a turtle on his line. And nope, you don't want to go anywhere near that snapping turtle in terms of getting him free from the hook, right? It's a completely different personality. It's large, it's powerful, the jaws are really strong, it's got a long tail, and these turtles spend most of their lives underwater. Online, they can seem aggressive, but usually they're only because, like, when they're feeling vulnerable, right? In the water, they're surprisingly shy and usually avoid people. Large snapping turtles can weigh over 35 pounds, while the giant alligator snapping turtle of the southeastern United States can be greater than 150 pounds. How about the box turtle? Definitely remember this guy growing up. Unlike many turtles, box turtles live mostly on land. They have a hinged lower shell that lets them almost completely close them inside like it's a little box. And you can obviously see why they named it that way. And yes, here's my buddy, the red-eared slider. This is named the red-eared slider because it doesn't have red ears, but it has this bright red stripe behind each eye. It was originally native to the southern United States, but now it's all across North America and in countries all over the world because so many pet turtles were released into the wild. This is the most popular pet turtle. They're excellent swimmers, and I could see that. He was coming up quick to that line, and they often pile together on logs to bask in the sun. In many places, they actually compete with native turtle species. Now, I mentioned it's one of the most popular pet turtles. Why? Cheap. I say cheap, it's supply and demand. They're out there so much in terms of being able to purchase them. Obviously, they look great with their distinctive red stripes. And they can adapt to different environment more easily than other species of turtles. And yes, they have great personalities. They'll quickly learn to recognize their owners and they'll swim forward to beg for food. But listen, this podcast is not about recommending certain turtles. I'll tell you this, with all the research I had done, the red-eared slider is a commitment. Number one, they get big. They can routinely live more than 20, 30 years in some cases. And you need a big 120-gallon tank. You need to do your research is the bottom line, because what I've read here is that owners that are not prepared and can't have the commitment for keeping the turtle for a long time end up releasing them. And, that can be problematic to wherever they're released. They'll steal the nesting grounds of the turtles that are native to that area, that pond. They'll outcompete the turtles that are there. And, again, if you're not native to a certain place, you're invasive. You can introduce diseases and unique, again, new bacteria or viruses or parasites to this new little ecosystem. So it's not ideal. In fact, most reptile experts, when it comes to turtles, recommend obviously smaller, more manageable turtle species. And if you're looking for another alternative, again, not giving advice, but the more common pet turtles are the common musk turtle, the painted turtle, the Mississippi map turtle, and yes, the eastern box turtle. But we got to talk about now the sea turtle, right? From Finding Nemo, hey man, just going to catch a wave. The giants of the turtle world. The 7 living sea turtle species include the green turtle, the loggerhead, the leatherback, the hawksbill, Kemp's ridley, olive ridley, and flatback. The leatherback is incredible. It can weigh over 1,000 pounds. Instead of a hard shell, it is a thick, leathery covering. It also dives deeper than almost any other reptile, more than 4,000 feet below the ocean's surface. And you may have heard this. They have this biological navigation system. It's like they have GPS in their body. They will travel thousands of miles across an open ocean, and then they'll come back precisely to the exact same beach where they were born to lay their own eggs. It's unbelievable. So where do they live? Well, pretty much almost anywhere. The freshwater turtles obviously like the ponds, the lakes, the rivers. The land turtles, anywhere that, pretty much anywhere. Forest, grassland, deserts. You really don't see the turtles too often living in suburbia. They like to be away from, obviously, us. And what do they do all day? Well, they actually have a pretty good lifestyle. For most of the day, they're just hanging, laying down, basking in the sun, searching for food, obviously swimming, and they're trying to get away from predators like most animals. Sunbathing isn't just relaxing for a turtle, it's essential. Being reptiles, turtles are ectotherms, meaning they rely on outside heat to warm their bodies. The morning sun helps raise their body temperature so they can move and digest their food efficiently. What do they eat? Well, it depends on the turtle species. Many freshwater turtles are omnivores, which basically means they eat almost anything. Worms, insects, frogs, snails, berries, algae. The young turtles often eat more meat because they need the protein to grow. The older turtles, they get old, they just want plants. The sea turtles, they're all over the place. The green sea turtles are mostly vegetarians. The leatherbacks, they like eating jellyfish. And the snapping turtles, well, they'll eat almost anything. That's why they didn't mind that hot dog on the end of that fish line. Who eats the turtles? Well, adults are well protected. Younger turtles, they have issues. The eggs are eaten by, you name it, raccoons, foxes, skunks, snakes, crows, gulls. The baby turtles, they're eaten by fish. Yeah, the great blue heron. Bass, raccoons, snapping turtles, yeah. They eat them their own kind, and large birds. Even adult turtles can be eaten by alligators, crocodiles, bears, and large mammals. But, here in Jersey where I am, they're pretty much protected. Sea turtles? Who are their predators? Yeah, sharks. What's the turtle life cycle? Every turtle begins inside an egg. The mother digs a nest using her back legs. She will lay anywhere, listen to this, from 2 to well over 100 eggs, depending upon the species. She covers them with dirt or sand, then she leaves, and that's it. Unlike birds or mammals, the turtles provide no parental care. The babies are completely on their own. Weeks or months later, the hatchlings dig themselves out and immediately begin life independently. Oh my goodness, they're orphans right from the beginning. Many never survive their first year. Only a tiny percentage reach adulthood. The red-eared slider, the average is about 10 to 11 eggs per nest. How long do they live? Well, they're one of the longest-lived vertebrates. Many freshwater turtles live 20 to 40 years. I mentioned this before, right? So obviously in captivity, they're going to live a lot longer. The larger species often can live 50 to 80 years. Some tortoises regularly exceed, 100 years. It's been shown that some have lived more than 150 years. Oh my goodness, that makes turtles among the longest living animals on Earth. I bet you didn't know that. So, can they breathe underwater? No, they breathe air just like we do. But many turtles can stay underwater for surprisingly long periods. So while they're active, they can stay underwater for 20 to 40 minutes. If they're just resting and hanging out, sitting on the sofa watching TV, just a few hours. But during winter, listen to this, some freshwater turtles spend months underwater beneath the ice. Their metabolism slows down dramatically. They even absorb a small amount of oxygen through these specialized tissues around their throat and back ends. It isn't enough to stay active, but it helps them survive until the spring. Do they hibernate? Yeah, well, it's something close to hibernation. They truly don't. Instead, they enter this state called brumation, the reptile version of winter dormancy. Their heart slows, their breathing slows, their metabolism becomes extremely low, and they pretty much are not doing anything until the temperature rises, right, in the spring. And how about this question? Can they feel their shell? Yep. Their shell contains nerves. They can feel pressure, touch, pain. You pick them up by the shell, right? They can feel it. Do they have teeth? Nope. Instead, they have sharp, hard beaks. Think of a bird's beak. Different turtles have differently shaped beaks depending upon what they eat. So snapping turtles, yikes, stay away from them. Powerful bites. Can turtles hear? Yes, but not really too good. They hear mostly low-frequency sounds and vibrations. Their eyesight, however, is really good. Many turtles also have an excellent sense of smell. So, getting back to this question, should you keep one as a pet? Yeah, they make good pets, but like I said before, only if you're prepared. Here's what surprises many people. A tiny turtle sold at a pet store may eventually need, like I said, a huge aquarium, a really strong filtration system, special lighting, heating, and expect to spend your almost entire life with them. Like I said, they can live 30 years or longer. You should never release a pet turtle into the wild for all the reasons I mentioned before. So be smart. If you're going to have a turtle as a pet, be prepared for a lifelong commitment. And you probably have guessed this, but no, snapping turtles do not make good pets. And just to wrap up our podcast, here's some fun turtle facts. Some little baby turtles can survive being frozen. They actually produce some special chemicals that act like natural antifreeze that will protect their cells until the spring. How about this one? You ever see them stack one on top of another? They do this. Why? Because sometimes the best spots are taken, so they'll pile on top of each other just to get a little sunshine. And they don't move as slowly as you think. Yeah, land tortoises are famously slow, but freshwater turtles, they can move fast. And like I told you right from the beginning of the podcast, I saw this. A frightened, painted turtle can definitely shoot off a log into the water really quickly. And how about this? The oldest turtle ancestors appeared before the Tyrannosaurus Rex by more than 150 million years. And the last one, scientists can identify individual turtles sometimes by the patterns on their shells, just like we identify people by their fingerprints. Amazing. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed this journey learning all about turtles. Reach out to me at kevmok21@gmail.com. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on X. We are on Spotify. And yes, very soon, look for the show notes. You can support the podcast through patreon.com. I'm setting up an account now. Really appreciate the support. As always, subscribe to the podcast, follow the podcast. Really, you can find it anywhere. Just Google, OK, Let's Learn. So, until next time, have fun and keep learning.